Thus far today, triple witching has not been letting us down. The volatility is definitely happening. And it's going to be, we'll see. Maybe it'll be like this all day long. Anyway, the NASDAQ is down 6% from its all-time high going into today and was down more, but then has been bouncing back towards green. We're also going into the Christmas rally period next week, so this is going to be impacting things. Stocks are at rare multiples across the board and have been for a while, as you know, with all-time highs almost every single day in the indices up until about a week or so ago when the Dow started moving down. The government might be going into shutdown if Congress doesn't act today, and Elon Musk is leading that charge. Well, I mean, he put up a great little bill with 115 pages in it compared to the 1,500-page bill that Congress was trying to enact with all kinds of pork and stuff that you and I probably wouldn't have liked. But anyway, so now the Congress is not acting, hasn't acted yet. And if they all go home tonight, we could have a government shutdown over the holidays. Not that I think that's going to create any real problems, but the stock market doesn't like uncertainty. But so other than that, what else could go wrong? Well, Tesla tested the 410 to 14 range several times overnight and also this morning, but closing out the it's not a shock that it would be testing those given what's going on right now. On the other hand, the typical Christmas rally might provide us with another shot at $500 later this month. So who knows where we might end up? Quite frankly, I haven't given you my new numbers. We've already hit my numbers and we're still above my numbers. So I have to come up with new numbers, but I'm not ready to make such a pronouncement yet. I'm 100% invested. I can tell you that at this point, having bought Leaps and then adding to my Tesla pile, TSLY that is, but that's a little fund, ETF that I've been invested in. But quite frankly, both of those are very long plays. I have no plans to make any new decisions for possibly months unless something really crazy happens. I've never in my life seen a setup. Now, listen to me, never in all of my investing career for my entire life, I have never seen a setup as obvious as Tesla in 2025. This is not investment advice, but there is overwhelming agreement that Tesla's going to double from here, give or take. It's going to double from here in 2025. And that sentiment isn't built on sand. There's little doubt at this point that FSD unsupervised is going to happen within months, maybe within a couple of months, maybe 3, 4, 5. It could be all the way to June or July, but I mean, it's really, really close. That would be followed by robotaxi services being offered in driverless vehicles. And that alone, assuming a rollout that is relatively smooth and that involves a substantial number of vehicles, that would generate massive gains, potentially above my 700 price target for the end of the year. Then we have almost certainty that Optimus will have a reveal date in 2025 with sales starting in 2026. That can send the stock above 1,000, assuming that the reveal shows Optimus doing really significant, useful things at human speeds, with human decision-making speeds as well, and that we get some pricing and some idea of what the margins are going to be. Well, in addition to all that, we have the huge benefit of Musk's influence in DC, which apparently was worth 100 points just a few weeks ago. This huge positive potential is fraught with downsides. All kinds of potential negatives can come out of that. It makes for some high drama, but the upside is probably very, very good, even though the downside potential is there as well. Now, in addition to all of that, add in the huge opportunities in 2025, the Juniper, the Model Q, or whatever you want to call it, the Shanghai Megafactory, the likelihood, I would say the almost certainty that we'll have announcements of additional megafactories and gigafactories, and the very real possibility of selling out 100% of all vehicles at elevated prices when the robotaxis are imminent. I've been talking about that for a while. In fact, as I noted yesterday, the prices of all vehicles will start to soar. The used vehicles will begin to be completely off the market, and there will be a secondary market on new cars set up if Tesla doesn't raise their prices accordingly, like they did during COVID. You saw it during COVID when there was no vehicles available and they were selling out like crazy with 6-month, 8-month waiting periods. Tesla eventually had to raise their prices because of the secondary market. Well, while Tesla is unlikely to much more than double in 2025, it is likely to much more than double from there in 2026 and beyond. Having the two most disruptive products in history ready to deploy this year seems pretty likely to create a doubling in 25 and probably another doubling. Well, not a double, another 50% increase in 26 above that 700. We could probably be in the 13 to 1500 range in 2026. Barron's is suggesting that part of the Tesla sell-off this morning might be Musk's politics. I think this is very unlikely. But anyway, buckle up on this triple witching day with so many other things going on. It should be a great day or a huge losing day for those who like to day trade. I don't have the guts for that anymore. We're also setting on what is arguably the slowest news day of the year, the Friday before Christmas, and there's not much news, actually, not much real news. Well, at least so far. You see, last night, both the President of the United States and the Vice President, Harris, they both got called back to D.C. from their vacations. What's happening? Are we under invasion? Are we going to declare war or something? Well, so what is the reason for them to be called from their vacations back to D.C. all of a sudden? Is there something that we don't know? Well, I seem to still be very, very lonely in predicting what I'm gonna predict. I put it up on X last night, and people were like pretty panicked about it. But I think I'm right, and we'll see what happens later today. I think that Kamala Harris will become the president of the United States today. We had a massive group of White House staff admit that Biden has been senile since day one, that they've been worried about his declining capabilities from first day, almost 4 years ago that he was in office. Well, it seems odd that that would come out yesterday and get this big Atlantic write-up about his senility. Why would that come out now? Why wouldn't that come out after the inauguration, after President Trump is in office? It came out a month before and just 1 day before this very slow news day. Well, let's see. Could this all be coordinated? Anyway, so Biden and Harris interrupt their vacations. They go to D.C. I don't know. I think Biden steps down today because he can't continue to execute, as president of the United States, and Kamala Harris becomes president because what? She's going to get a thank you for having thrown herself out there as a potential president earlier, and it was sad what happened. But she'll get all these benefits. She will be a called president for the rest of her life. She will be invited to all the big things where all the presidents are invited. She will be the first female president in history. She'll be the first black female president in history. Anyway, it's a slow news day. Why are they doing it on a slow news day? I don't know. And I could be completely wrong, but right now I seem to be all alone in making the prediction. What will it do to markets? Probably not much. I think it's going to be historically extremely interesting, but I doubt whether it's going to impact markets. This from Barron's: the drop could be just the market doing market things. Profit taking is reasonable. Coming into Friday trading, Tesla stock was up about 75% so far this year and 73% since the November election. Tesla stock came into the week overbought area right now, a trading term that essentially means the stock has gone up a lot quickly. When that happens, it can be a sign of good news and is reflected in the stock, and there aren't many buyers left to push the stock higher. Well, at pre-market levels, Tesla stock has been adding about $515 billion in market value since the election. That's a lot. The triple witching day is supposed to see volatility. Tesla is often volatile, so swings of $8 or so this morning seem normal. Or, well, we'll look at where Tesla is, in a few more minutes here. AJ has this morning. He says, and this is great. Listen to this now. He says he just bought more Tesla at 413 this morning. I should have waited. I know, but I'm perfectly happy with where I got in. He says these prices appear to be bargains because number one, government shutdown risk is not sinking the economy, not a chance. Number two, this supposed Cybertruck sales weakness is not a major needle mover. It's not happening. Number three, FSD version 13 is the real deal and it only gets better from here. Number four, the auto industry's seasonally weak first quarter is already anticipated. Number four, Shanghai Megapack production is only weeks away. Number six, new Model Y is only weeks away from launch. Apparently in China in January, almost certainly, and maybe in California as well. Number seven, the new FSD version is weeks away from narrow release, the next whatever that's going to be. Number eight, the Trump inauguration is only a month away. Expansion of vehicle lineup is just a couple of weeks or maybe a couple of months away, actually. The Model Q, as we mentioned earlier. Number 10, market is likely overcorrected on the interest outlook. Powell was too bullish last year in December, sent the market flying. That was forced to an immediate back pedal because it was wrong. And this week's talk might have been mostly him erring on the side of caution after he had the debacle 1 year ago. And then this morning we have a pretty decent PCE. We'll talk about that in a second. Elon is likely to provide bullish outlook in 5 weeks when he does the call. And then the earnings were great and Tesla took off in the third quarter. Fourth quarter will be even better with higher numbers. We know that for sure. And margins are he says margins likely go down. I've got pretty smart people say the margins are going to go up, including Brian Wang. If you should watch what he has to say tomorrow morning about what he thinks is going to happen to margins. After all of that, I'm just going to let you know this is Randy Kirk. You should like, subscribe, notify. You should do that. I mean, really, liking. It just takes a second. Hit the like button. It really helps. Hitting subscribe. My subscriptions are up 1,000 this month. Thank you very much. That's one of the best months I've had in a while. And then and we're over 25,000 now. Hit notify because why? Because later today you're going to have some great. Larry Goldberg is going to be here right around 4:30, and then later in the day it'll be Phil Beisel again, and he's going to talk about Optimus in ways you have never, ever, nobody's ever talked about it the way that Phil Beisel is talking about it. So please come back for that. And then, of course, it's getting very close to Christmas. Only 2 of you have sent me a Christmas present so far. I really, really am feeling sad. Come on now. Go down there to Patreon. It's in the description below. Hit the little button right there. Go over and send Randy, $36 a year. Could you handle that? You think you'll make that by watching the channel next year? All right, go for 60, $5 a month. Go for $60. It wouldn't hurt you. Okay, CNBC this morning. Prices barely moved in November, but still held higher than the Federal Reserve's target when looked at from a year ago, according to the Commerce Department measure released on Friday. The Personal Consumption Expenditure Price Index, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, showed only an increase of 0.1% from October. That's the headline number. The measure indicated a 2.4 inflation rate on an annual basis, still ahead of the Fed's 2% goal, but better than the 2.5 estimate from the Dow Jones. The monthly reading also was 0.1% below the forecast. There you go. Now, excluding food and energy, the core PCE also increased 0.1% monthly and was 2.8% higher than a year ago, and that was also better than the forecast. But the market didn't move. At least initially, it really didn't affect the market. Fed officials generally consider the core reading to be a better gauge of the long-rate inflation trends because it excludes volatile gas and grocery. The annual core inflation reading was the same as October, while the headline rate rose 0.1%. The readings reflected little increase in goods prices and a 0.2% rise in services prices, which is excellent. Food and energy prices both posted 0.2% gains as well. On a 12-month basis, goods prices have fallen 0.4%, and services have risen 3.8%. There's that cost of labor again that I've been talking to you about. Food prices were up 1.4%. Energy fell 4%. Housing inflation, one of the stickier components of inflation during this economic cycle, showed signs of cooling in November, going up only 0.2%. But we saw those housing numbers yesterday. I don't think that's going to hang in there. Housing prices, well, on the housing side, on the owned side, I think those will continue to go up. Rentals, they might pull things down. It might end up averaging out. Income and spending numbers in the release were also a bit light compared to expectations. Personal income rose 0.3% after having jumped 0.7% in October, falling short of the 0.4% estimate. So at 0.3%, that is still 3.6% annualized. That is well above the Fed's goal of 2.5 to 3. On spending, personal expenditures increased 0.4%, a tenth of a percentage below the forecast. The personal savings rate also edged up to 4.4%. That's a good sign. Stock market futures held in negative territory after the report, while Treasury yields also slumped. That's good news. We'll take a look at that in a minute as well. Quote, sticky inflation appeared to be a little less stuck this morning, says Chris Larkin, Managing Director of Trading and Investing at E-Trade Morgan Stanley. The Fed's preferred inflation gauge came in lower than expected, which may take some of the sting out of the market's disappointment with the Fed's interest rate announcement on Wednesday. The report comes just 2 days after the Fed cut the benchmark interest rate a quarter point. However, Chair Jerome Powell and his colleagues reduced their expected path in 2025 because they were worried about inflation. Although Powell said Wednesday that inflation has moved much closer to the Fed's goal, he said the changes in the projected path for rate cuts reflected an expectation that inflation will be higher than they had anticipated. Quote, it's kind of common sense thinking that when the path is uncertain, you go a little slower, Powell said. It's not like undriving in a foggy night or walking into a dark room full of furniture. You just slow down. And he's talking there about, of course, the changeover in administrations. And it's clear that Trump's policies are going to be radically different than the previous president. The market is headed lower at the PCE news. At least it was. We'll check again in a minute. And the VIX remained elevated at 22. Triple witching may be in play, and that may be impacting things more than the PCE. Finally, we had the consumer sentiment breaking today just before I came on. Consumer sentiment confirmed its early month reading, rising for the 5th consecutive month and reaching its highest value since April of 2024. Buying conditions exhibited a particularly strong 32% improvement, primarily due to a surge in consumers expecting future price increases for large purchases. So they're buying ahead because they're worried about price increases. The expectations index continued the post-election recalibration that began last month, climbing for Republicans and declining for Democrats in December. Importantly, independents' expectations were essentially unchanged from the past month. So their short-term thinking is that business conditions are going to be unchanged. Broadly speaking, consumers believe the economy has improved considerably as inflation has slowed, but they do not feel they are thriving. This is important. Sentiment is currently about midway between the all-time low in June 2022 and the pre-pandemic readings. Year-ahead inflation expectations rose from 2.6% last month to 2.8% this month, the first month-over-month increase since May, but within the 2.3 to 3% range seen in the last 2 years and pre-pandemic. Long-range inflation expectations edged down from 3.2 last month to 3.0 this month. Long-range inflation expectations, long-range, edged down from 3.2 to 3.0, modestly elevated relative to the range of readings seen in the 2 years pre-pandemic. All right, so there is all the news. I mean, is that enough news for you? Now let's find out what's happening with the stock market as a result of all this on this triple witching day. Oh my goodness. If you want volatility, I told you, if you like volatility, today's the day for it. The Dow, which had been down, is now up 233. The NASDAQ, which had been down, is now up 55. The S&P, which had been very down, is now up 22. And Tesla, which had been down as much as, I think, 13, is now up to 434, only down $2.07. The Magnificent Seven, which was all in the red, is now mixed. with NVIDIA up $1.64, and it had been down. So all of a sudden, all of the markets have changed and switched direction. Cathie Woods, which were all down, are now all in the green, except for CRISPR. Every other one is up. In some cases, nicely, like Square is up $1.37. And everything seems to be directionally up. So, yes, a very volatile day. Percentage-wise, you've got the Dow up 0.59, the NASDAQ up 0.39. You've got S&P is up 0.48, and Tesla at this point down 0.42. There's breaking news. I'm sorry, it's flashing in front of me. Something about Nancy Mace explains her reasons for voting no on the continuing resolution. That would be interesting, but I don't have time for that now. Tesla is this close to going into the green right now, as we're ready to switch over. Only down 70 cents, but definitely headed toward the green. Things are just continuing up, up, up. Okay, let's go over and see what's happening to those bonds, because that might be part of what's going on. Okay, we have a Zelle payment fraud news. I thought this was supposed to be a slow news day. CFPB sues JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo over Zelle payment fraud. Man, I mean, we got news breaking right and left here. We'll have to go find out what all that's about. Okay, let's look here. We've got the 10-year is down 4.4 basis points, but still it's at over 4.5 at 4.526. You've got the 2-year down 2.4 basis points, and you've got the 1 month is slightly up, actually at up 1.3 basis points. So in general, good directionally for the longs. Not really much to talk about here. Let's go ahead and look at the oils. Oil is down 47 cents. And you've got it at 68.91, quite a bit of volatility there the last couple of days, also being between 68 and 71. Natural gas up, also been volatile all year, like for the last few months, very volatile, sitting at almost 60 right now, $3.60. The CNBC is blaming the Dow bouncing 200 points this morning on encouraging inflation data. So why didn't they get it the first 15 minutes? It's taken them, an hour to figure out that the inflation data was good. So we've got gold up $35 this morning, back into its normal 2,643, very, very close to where it's been for months. Silver trying to go back over 30 again, sitting at 29.83. Copper up 0.37, holding over $4 at $4 and almost 10 cents. The Bitcoin this morning, which had been way, way, way down, I think as low as maybe 95, 94, is now back up to 97, up 622. So lots and lots of action this morning, as promised on Triple Witching on the Friday before Christmas, where people are already starting to take off. The Dow, that we've already covered all of that. Okay, let's see here. Let's go back. All right, first of all, let's talk about what's going on my channel. All right, that's very important. Like, subscribe, notify, all that jazz. Hit Patreon. Later today, Larry Goldberg, around 4 o'clock California time. You definitely want to be, you cannot miss. This is already recorded. It was supposed to be out 2 nights ago. You want to see this from Phil Beisel. He is talking about Optimus, which is the most important product in the world. And he's going to be talking about it in ways you haven't ever heard before. So you want to come and check that out tonight, 7:45 exactly. I've already put it in. So it'll be exactly 7:45 California time. You can set your clock by it. Okay. And then we have, what do we have? Oh, yes, we have from yesterday night. What did I do yesterday night? I had something really, really good. That would be Brian. No, it was no Brian's. Oh, yes, CERN Basher last night. Excellent program. You want to go back and check out what CERN had to say. It was kind of a potpourri of all kinds of different things. And, he always has the charts and the graphs and a bunch of funny stuff too. And he's kind of funny. He's kind of a funny guy. So you want to go back and check that out. I'll put that card right up here. Having said all of that, now let's go back and find out what Tesla is doing. Yes, we are in the green, $1.49. Oh my goodness, 437. Who knows? We could be at 480 by the end of the day, given the nature of what's going on right now. Who knows where we're going to end up? I wouldn't even begin to predict. It could also be back down to 412. So yeah, a crazy, crazy day. Look, in the minute, in that 30 seconds, it's already up $2.38. What will it happen? I'd like to just sit here and keep reading it to you, but I don't think that would be that interesting. So let me get out of your way. And as always, it has been great talking to you.